from the F3 Knoxville podcast studio, which is Blindside's back porch.
Oh, I could barely lift my right arm because I did so many. I don't know if you heard me counting, I did over 1,000.
This is Beyond the COT, a weekly podcast connecting the packs of F3 Knoxville and beyond through invigorating male community leadership through fitness, fellowship, and faith.
Avengers! Assemble.
38 school zone.
School zone. 34 strip.
40 kickflip. 56 high heels.
High heels, respect.
37 trunk.
The F3 Knoxville Beyond the COT podcast starts right now. Hello and welcome. This is Blindside coming at you with this week's edition of the Beyond the COT podcast from the F3 Knoxville family of podcasts. Today we're going to wrap up the conversation of Asylum AM being AO of the month, first ever AO of the month for the F3 Knoxville podcast, and introduce a little bit of the Shamrock being April's AO of the month. Then we are going to listen to an interview with the one and only Stripped, the current AOQ over at the Equalizer, and actually current AOQ for not much longer, and he'll talk about that in the interview. And then we're going to finish talking about some stuff with Coffeeteria, one of the F3 things I want to talk about, and that's Coffeeteria. So I'll let this intro fade out and we'll get started. So, Asylum AM has been this iteration of the podcast's first AO of the month for March of 2022. And funny enough, even though I was able to post over there a couple times, queue over there once, funny enough, I haven't made it over for a Saturday workout during this month. A combination of the having to take the little ones to cheer and dance competitions, to the snow that we had, the unexpected snow. Really wish I had gotten out there for that one, but again, there was just a little bit too unknown of getting over there that early in the morning while that snow was falling. But funny enough, this past Saturday, I was able to get out there just for for a pre-ruck. I had to get to Knox County Schools recruitment fair for teachers for next year, so I had to be out at Central High School by 8 o'clock. So I couldn't make it there. But I was able to. I saw on the Slack channel that this guy named Peanut had said he was in town. Wanted to do a walk at 6 a.m. Prior to the beatdown, and knowing that was the only thing I could have done, I actually made my way out to the Asylum at around 6 o'clock Saturday morning and met with Peanut. So Peanut, I didn't know this, but Peanut is a guy that was from Knoxville and been posting in Knoxville for a long time, and moved to UT Martin, and as he got a job at the University of Tennessee in Martin, Tennessee, which is, if you know anything about the geography of our state, it's pretty far away. And he's in town for the half marathon that he's running with his daughter, and so he wanted to come in and not get a beat down, but do a little walk. And I think he put out there on Slack for any of the OGs, and I am definitely not one of those from Knoxville. So I said I was going to come out there and meet with him, and it ended up being just him and I. And it was a pretty good time. We spent an hour walking around the Asylum. He walked, I rucked with my 30-pound ruck sack, and I got to know this guy that the only thing we had in common was F3, and well, that's what we thought to start with, but more on that in a second. So it was really cool to hear his perspective of being in a place that doesn't have F3 workouts in Martin, Tennessee. The closest he can get to is Memphis on occasion. And he does talk about with his job at UT Martin, he is in Knoxville, Nashville, Chattanooga, Memphis. somewhat regularly, but it's usually in and out for meetings, and any chance he can get to post, he does. But one of the things that stuck out to me, and the reason why I'm adding this to the Asylum AO of the month kind of talk, is as we were walking around, he was just commenting on how much that park, Lakeshore Park, has changed in the years that F3 has been posting there. I had to kind of direct him for some of the new walking paths, the split around the new split in the front, the split by that pull out there along the river where there's that nice overlook, that extra new lighted way that down in the back before the Blind Hill. He commented the baseball park, the old baseball fields are gone, and how the soccer fields look, and I was letting him know about the new construction over there by those lower soccer fields, and he's just in awe of the changes to the Asylum, the overlook and the Coliseum up there, just how beautiful it was, and it just helped remind me how lucky we are to have a park like that here in Knoxville. That as a community, it's a great place with playgrounds and walking trails for our community. But as an AO, as an F3 AO, it is incredible. And like I mentioned, Rainbow and I mentioned in his interview, you just never, you can post there 150 times and you're never going to get the same workout because of all the amenities there. And it helped remind me just how lucky we are to have a place like that here in Knoxville. I mentioned earlier that Peanut and I had more in common than we thought. He's actually the chancellor at UT Martin, and I'm working on my PhD at UT Knoxville. And so because of that, and my PhD is in educational leadership and policy studies, and most of that's K-12, and some of that is actually can be geared towards higher ed. And so we ended up about 45 minutes in finding that commonality and really talking about that. So I'm grateful for Peanut for the fellowship. I'm happy that knowing I couldn't do the beat down from 7 to 8, still drug myself out of bed at 5:30 on a Saturday morning and got to fellowship with a guy that I had never met before, and really was brought into perspective not only more about F3 but also with the appreciating the Asylum.
And now for something completely different.
So now introducing Shamrock as our April 2022 AO of the month. Right now, we are in the last week of March. Friday is April 1st, so always be wary of April Fool's Day, guys. And I really like Shamrock. It's besides Equalizer, Dog Pound. It is the closest one to where I live, but it also is located at Knoxville Catholic High School parking lot. It's also where I went to school, so I'm a proud alum from class of 2006 from Knoxville Catholic. Really know that area somewhat well. It has changed over the years, and I always enjoy those group of guys where I have posted over there, and I did lead one queue over there. Just so happens to be, I think, week 3 of Iron Pack's challenge of last year. So I had no planning that I needed to do. So that's going to be our April AO of the month, and I'm going to do more queuing there than I did at the Asylum for March. I'm actually queuing out there on Wednesday. The queue that was promised with the Uno queue that was promised a couple weeks ago, where I got a little under the weather. So we'll be out there. I'll be out there on Wednesday of this week, and a couple more times I've signed up to queue during the month of April. And then so we'll formally introduce next week Shamrock as the April 2022 AO of the month.
We interrupt this program to annoy you and make things generally irritating.
Have you been caught doing monkey humpers in a restaurant parking lot at 0530? Did that encounter with KPD go just a little bit sideways while pre-rucking down Emory Road at 0445? Are you planning on doing something completely stupid and utterly pointless in a park at Oak Ridge? Until until midnight soon? If you find yourself in a bind and need some immediate help, call Mayberry's Bail Bonds. Without hesitation, Mayberry will be your guy to help in whatever situation you find yourself in with law enforcement, because he's in some kind of law enforcement, right? I mean, we've all heard him mention some sort of government agency, haven't we? He did flash some red and blue lights as he was leaving the dog pound the other day, come to think of it. Anyway, if you find yourself in trouble, don't hesitate to reach out and call Mayberry's Bail Bond Service. They're here to help. All right, guys, we're here today for a great hymn interview for Beyond the COT. We're here with Stripped. Say hello to the people, Stripped.
Hey there.
So what I want to do to get started is give us a little 2-minute pre-F3 bio about yourself.
Before F3, I was married to my high school sweetheart, still am, thanks, in no small part probably to F3. We had 2 kids who are now 4 and 7, both boys. And, I was just working and just kind of going with the flow. Not a whole lot of active engagement on my part, especially in the fitness arena.
Okay, so now let's get into some of the F3. Who EH'd you? Where'd you start? How'd you get your name? All of that good stuff.
So I was EH'd by Training Wheels, who was my small group leader growing up at church in middle school and high school, and ran into him at an event, and he just kind of came over to say hi and said, "Hey, I've been working out with this group of guys. I think you'd really like it. You ought to check it out. It's called F3." And I think what he meant by that was, you look like you got stung by a bee. You should really join me at F3.
Yeah, it's really hard to EH guys when it's the fitness that brings them in, and they may think that it's just, I'm looking extra fluffy today.
That's right. But I checked it out and showed up on a Friday, figuring that'd give me kind of the weekend to decide whether I wanted to go back or not. But I just showed up at the Equalizer that morning, and Training Wheels wasn't there, and the guy who told me to connect with, if he wasn't there, but there was no flag. But Mouthwash gave us a great beat down, and I've been there ever since. Just never quit showing up.
I think that's called a naked F and G. I've been diving into some of the lexicon things. I think that's a naked F and G, when the guy that EH'd you's not there. And I don't know what that is if the guy who EH'd you said that the guy that would have been there was also not there. Maybe a buck naked F and G.
It makes it even better just popping out of your car and asking guys in the dark if they're with F3 or not.
Right? Yeah. Who knows how that could go? I know I had a similar situation when I showed, because it was pouring down rain when I showed up.
Yeah.
So how long ago was that?
Gosh, that was about 2.5 years ago.
Okay, awesome. And then I know we're regular workout buddies together at the Equalizer, and so that is your regular AO, and actually you're the AOQ currently for it, right?
That's right.
So what is your favorite workout that you can think of that you've participated in? Basic regular workout. There's always, since Mouthwash cued my first workout, I've always kind of got a soft spot for a Mouthwash beat down. But Rib's got a really great routine. He does a partner workout that you're running from station to station, and you just stay moving the whole time. Yeah, the Dora.
Yeah,
those are.
I love that.
Yeah, I love to hate it because you're right. You're all moving a lot. What about your favorite kind of cues to lead?
Cues to lead. I like a Kraken. I like the only downside of the Kraken is you're counting a lot of the time. One thing I like about timed stations is you get a little bit more mumble chatter because everybody's not counting reps the whole time.
Yeah, it's really easy to come up with some of those cues that's got the counting, but when you get down to it, some of the best workouts are when there's great mumble chatter, along with the great physical aspect of it, and it's hard to do that when you're trying to count to 40 in your head or whatever
sure.
it is, or running a whole lot and that sort
Yeah.
of thing. What about your favorite event or kind of, I guess, special thing that's happened with F3, whether it be a CSOP or anniversary or convergence or something like that?
And both CSOPs I've been a part of, Off the Chain out at Dog Pound and Asylum CSOP, both were just fantastic. Just loved them. So I don't know that I could pick a favorite between the two of them.
Well, that Off the Chain one, that was my first one as well, and the only reason why I think that one might win out was because of the great story of we were in a group with Ribbed, and my shorts started to ooze laundry detergent because it was so humid out there. That will always be kind of the greatest story to come out of that.
That and Food by Junk.
Oh yes, that was always so good. So talking about some of these events, and everyone that's heard on the podcast that we do we pre-ruck the Equalizer. We try to get out there 3 days a week, but we probably average two and a half. We'll call it that.
Yeah.
Do you do anything else extra with F3? Usually it includes rucking, racing, hardship hill, leadership, biking, etc. And we mentioned that you are AOQ currently at Equalizer. So do you do anything, or do you have any thoughts about some of that extra stuff?
Man, I love the rucking aspect of stuff, getting out there a little early and getting some fellowship in, getting some miles in, getting warmed up. That just takes the experience to the next level for me.
Oh, there's a definite difference, I think, when you pre-ruck a beatdown. And you especially notice that like on some of those rainy ones when we might not want to get out there and melt on a 2.5 mile pre-ruck, and you can definitely tell how the warm-up is there. What about anything like Hardship Hill or a Grow Ruck event? Have you ever thought about doing stuff like that? Or
I've thought about a Grow Ruck. Hardship Hill is always on like a baseball weekend for me.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm in the middle of coaching 2 baseball teams, and I have a hard time missing one of my kids' games for that, but looks awesome, and I'm always checking the calendar hoping I can make it.
Awesome, yeah. And I think that at one point there was talk either right in the middle, pre-pandemic or right in the middle pandemic, about a possibility of Knoxville holding the Grow Ruck event. I think Steve mentioned that a couple of months ago. Starting to think about it. An overnight 12 to 13 hour rucking event sounds insanity, but so does half the other stuff that we do. So I'm more and more listening and reading and watching things about the Grow Rucks. Be pretty interesting, and I know there's one coming up in mid Tennessee in a couple weeks. So, well, kind of switching gears here, back to some more of the getting to know how F3 has affected you. What would you say the biggest impact F3's had on your life?
I mean, the fitness piece is undeniable, right? I mean, I was not even remotely in shape before. I think if it weren't for F3, I'd be on blood pressure medicine and staring down diabetes right now, honestly. I mean, but more than that, I think, starting your day with a purpose, starting it with a plan, accomplishing something. We've done more, especially on a day we pre-ruck. We've done more by 6:15 than most people do all week. That's just...
There are days where we, Apple Watch guys, we close 2 of our 3 rings before 6 o'clock.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's kind of crazy that there are days that I don't close any of them, and days that I don't work out. So yeah, that's good. Anything else besides the fitness? Now everyone knows that's the magnet, but that's not what's keeping you.
No, for sure. I mean, the fellowship piece, I don't know that I'm drastically different from anybody else. I grew up here in Knoxville, and so I've got some kind of holdover relationships and relationships that never ended because I never left. But the reality is I didn't have a lot of male friends. I mean, especially outside of my workplace or outside of church. And that's one huge change I've seen is I've got real, actual male friendships, people I can call on, people I can count on that aren't tied to, especially my workplace, which is important. And having guys that I can, just confide in and count on is huge for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's those recently reading Free to Lead, where there's the the friends of proximity when you're in high school and in college, and then those workplace friends, and then the friends of your M, or husbands of friends of your M, which ironically is kind of how we knew each other or met each other the first time. Yeah, and a break there, 3, 4, 5 years, and then we come back and we weren't necessarily close. It was a hey, how you doing? And that kind of shows that how those kind of friendships aren't meaningful. But then once I showed up to F3 and I turn around and you say hey, and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a long time, and is this going to be awkward or is this not going to be awkward? But it's turned into a great thing where, for myself, I could text you on a Saturday for do this interview on a Sunday, and I knew I could count that you were going to try to make it work, and we did. It's awesome. So kind of combining all those things and thinking about some of your favorite things about F3. That we've talked about the fitness, we've talked about the fellowship. What are some of the kind of in those veins or outside of those veins that's your favorite things?
I think being a part of a group and, especially being consistent in an AO where you've got a consistent group of guys and seeing how that pays off and how it plays out. Watching guys get involved in each other's lives, watching guys lift each other up as they struggle, learning guys' wives and kids' names and celebrating birthdays and anniversaries and all that stuff, and just, growing together and being involved in each other's lives, I think is maybe as rewarding as anything. But seeing guys step up and lead and kind of take that mantle on is definitely rewarding.
Awesome, great. So you've brought, in my little over a year at the Equalizer, as being an Equalizer regular, you've EH'd a couple guys.
A couple.
They got out there. They've stayed a little while. They've been injured. R.I.P. in peace, Hans.
Yeah.
Who I talked to this week. He seems to be doing better.
I'm trying to get him back out. I think maybe once the weather warms up, we'll see him again.
That's good. So do you have any EHing tips for guys?
To the extent I've been successful in EHing guys, I think it's just, for me, it's just been being honest, and sharing kind of some of the stuff I've shared with you. I mean, here's what F3 has done in my life, and in not so many words, I can tell just looking at you, you need those same things, so why don't you join me out there?
That sounds great. So what do you do, what are your kind of, I guess, moves or go-tos when a guy posts for a little while, not talking about an injury or posts for a while consistently and then drops off? What are some of the things that you find to be successful or not successful at getting those guys back?
I mean, I think just letting guys know you notice when they miss is as big as anything, and not waiting till it's been a month and they're out of the habit. I try. Everybody's kind of got their own pattern, and if a guy's just a once a weeker, it's easy for it to be 2 weeks before you're able to reach out and tell that he's dropped off. But, I try to be pretty quick on the trigger and, hey, missed you today, hope to see you again next week.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
And calling, a little bit of a call out on Slack sometimes, and I know that if I saw my name on one of those or on the milk carton on the newsletter, it probably would guilt me into showing back up, because I know that people will know that, realize that, and know that I'm not posting. So, there was a little bit there where I was slacking off a little bit, and while I didn't get called out in one of the strip Sunday night call-outs, I probably could have been. So, well, I like to close all conversations I have with any high-impact men such as yourself is just a simple question, and that's why F3?
Because F3 has got what you need to take a next step, to be a better man, to be a better leader, to be a better husband. I think we all can use a little better fitness. We can all use more fellowship in our lives. And we can all advance our faith. And I think F3 does all three of those, or helps us do all three of those. So
I like to think that it's something I never knew that I needed.
Oh, yeah.
Or never acknowledged that I needed. Kind of in the past generations that are probably more likely our grandfathers and than our fathers at this point, were guys that are our age in our early to mid 30s. They had a lot of this naturally.
Right.
Whether it was through a neighborhood or through different wars that were fought in the early to mid 20th century, they've got that fellowship, they got that fitness, and then that led to the faith sharing aspect of it. And so now, as a modern man, sometimes it doesn't come as naturally to us. So
for sure, absolutely,
F3 is the thing that you have to be intentional, I think, near the beginning to grow that, but it really helps. It really helps all three aspects of our lives, which goes into all the rest of our lives. Well, Stripped, thank you for doing this. And like I said, in short notice, we both got baseball practices today. I know I've got birthday party and to rebuild my fence. So I really appreciate you coming. Is there anything else you want to say to the people? This will drop tomorrow, just so you know.
No, man, I appreciate it. I am enjoying the podcast. You're doing a great job, and just hope you keep it up. I do want to mention, out at the Equalizer, we will be passing the flag April 15th. Want to invite everybody out to come celebrate not only the 3rd anniversary of the Equalizer, but also the flag pass over to Ribbed. And I know a ton of guys know Ribbed, and the guy's a true him. He embodies all 3 of the F's, and I'm just blown away by him and excited to follow him. And I hope everybody will come out and slap him on the back and get a great workout in on April 15th.
Absolutely. And I will say I did see Detention yesterday and mentioned it to him. So he didn't hard commit, but he did ask if anyone has been re-upped their certification for CPR for him to come out. So
got to get the OG out there.
Calling out Detention. So that's great. And Ribbed is a great guy, and as you guys know, the 3 of us, we pre-ruck a lot together, and now we're 2 for 2 Ribbed mentions in the interviews that I've done. So that has to mean something, that he has to be a pretty great high-impact man. And I don't know if you noticed on the phone, he texted me during this. So y'all come out that April 15th for the flag changeover and the 3-year anniversary. Well, Stripped, it was great talking with you, and until next time, guys. Headed back to the Blindside studio for the rest of the Beyond the COT podcast. All right, to wrap up this week's edition of Beyond the COT, the F3 thing I want to talk about is Coffeeteria. Coffeeteria is one of the great aspects of F3, and that's highlighting the second F. So while the beat down workouts, CSOPs, running half marathons like a lot of the guys I saw do this weekend, those are great examples of the first F. Coffeeteria is probably the best and most common example of that second F, and Coffeeteria looks different almost everywhere you go. There are some AOs that every day they have Coffeeteria, whether that is coffee brought in and shared in the parking lot there in the gloom where the shovel flag is, or headed out to a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks or a K-Brew or anywhere where we can get some nice coffee and fellowship. And I just love the time we're able to do that. Usually at the Equalizer, it's days in which there's no school. A lot of us are young dads or have young children that are in the schools, or in my case, have children in the schools and have to be at school early. And so usually around 6:20, 6:25, when that ball of man, when that circle of trust ends, we've got to get going, and we got to clean ourselves up and get presentable to take those shorties, take those 2.0s to school. So in those rare occasions where on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or at the Equalizer, or Tuesday, Thursday at Dog Pound, where we don't have school during the school year, we like to bust out the thermoses and bring the coffee cups and spend a couple extra minutes in fellowship. Some of the kind of around the F3 Nation, you see a whole mix of guys that some of them go out for breakfast after a beatdown. I know that the one of the regions up in Pennsylvania that I was hearing about recently, they have 6 AOs, but they only have one workout a week at each AO. In their region, it's pretty spread out, and so it's different groups of guys make it to different AOs. Some of it's too far to drive, and they really take the time to make sure that several times a week they are going and having coffee and breakfast together and really getting that second F fellowship in. And you got places on Saturdays here when some of us have a little bit more time. After the truck stop beat down, the guys go to, I believe it's Einstein Bagels there at Campbell Station. And after the Asylum beat down on Saturdays, the guys head over to Panera and have some good times. And I know I've gotten there probably around 8:20, 8:25, and there have been some Saturdays where I've left at about 10:30, just hanging out with some guys and really enjoying that fellowship time and having coffee and breakfast with them. So Coffeeteria is one of my favorite things about F3, when you can do it on a Saturday when you have a little extra time, and even those days where we don't have school and we don't have to run out of the parking lot after the workout to get those kids to school. So that'll do it for this week's episode of Beyond the COT. As always, please rate, review, subscribe, share, do all those awesome things to really grow the podcast. I've had several guys reach out to me about contributing to the podcast, and I really appreciate that. Guys, we can grow this thing. And whether you want to co-host an episode with me, to have a discussion with me, to do your own show on a Tuesday, Thursday, or take over Mumble Chatter, or picking up the 6, or you have a completely different idea, just let me know, and we can get I can train you up on how to do this. It took me a couple weeks to really get going, but I really think it's something that pretty much any of us can do and share our stories and share our lives with the hymns of F3 Knoxville. So with that, as always, this is David Spody, 34 Blindside.